What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. As you can see, I think it's time that we finally go back to revisiting some of the girls from the roster. This time, as per the title of the video, we finally find ourselves arriving to talking about Odile from the Beastfolk faction, a support girl who I like to call the actual goddess of fate, hence she be revealed into the future. But why she is so good on most rosters and why teams should look at considering building her, we're going to talk about that and cover that starting right now.
I wanna be immortal, like a god in the sky. I wanna be a silk flower.
Alright, so Odile looking fantastic and looking to cover her skills, a little bit of the outfits, a little bit about the oaths, a little bit about how she fits in to team building and within a Beastfolk team, but also branching out to the other races, because Odile is not locked into only Beastfolks, even though she has abilities that slightly give extra buffs to Beastfolk. It's very small, but overall, one of the main reasons you want to consider her is right here. Like most Beastfolks in the past, we're just going to go ahead and skip this basic attack. It's okay. It's a single enemy, 100% of attack. But Dark Star Impact, dealing 200% of attack to the front row of the enemy. It inflicts 1 stack of Voodoo Doll to the targets, lasting for 2 turns. And after using that skill, heals 3 allies with lowest HP for 60% of attack. So a little bit of healing, but Voodoo Doll, based on the little pop-up button, it's a normal status that causes the target to take additional damage based on a percentage of the total damage they took when attacked. Not able to stack, or it makes sense. But then down here, the target, when attacked, will receive an additional indirect damage equal to 30% of damage taken, stacking up to 1 time. Keep that in the back of your mind right now. But indirect damage equal to 30% of damage taken. As we've covered on the channel before, what do Beastfolk love to do? Stack up gigantic skills with all the offensive attributes you can think of. Attack, crit damage, damage boost, skill damage, and just slam it right into the face of the target they're attacking. Usually it's upfront damage, so there's no extra indirect shenanigans going on here, but Odile changes that, giving all Beastfolk and any other race that extra indirect damage of 30% damage that the character took. So when they are being attacked, this additional indirect damage happens right after, and just ultimately helps all the Beastfolk stack up all this extra damage. So that is just ultimately fantastic. Well, let's just continue going through talents, because we need to really set the baseline as to what Odile is doing here for herself and the team. After using her skill, she restores 1 energy to all allies, so that's usually everyone excluding herself, and just for being on the team, increases the attack by 10% of all allies. So great stuff. Already, you know, just having her 2-star, you're getting 1 stack of voodoo and the buffs. So it's a good threshold if you're not able to pick up as many copies as you can when building her. To just go ahead and grab, you know, at least 1 extra. So you have a 2-star, buff your team, buff your energy, and start stacking up Voodoo Doll immediately. Like all girls, the talent 2 is just giving you 1 extra energy and some stats. Alright, the second main reason you're always bringing Odile. At the start of the battle, she's going to apply Winged Halo to herself and nearby allies. That means anyone standing in front of her, behind her, or to her left and right in the formation. And that's going to last until the end of the battle. When the target with Winged Halo are attacked, she's going to apply a Bioshield equal to 10% of her maximum HP, that's Odile's HP, to the target. An effect that can be triggered once per turn. So, you know, the girl standing in front of her, for example, gets attacked by someone. She's going to get basically an extra 10% of Odile's HP as a Bioshield. So building Odile for high HP boosts the amount of maximum HP that's given to that ally. Definitely something to consider. It's only once per turn as well. When a target with Winged Halo uses a skill, excluding the extra skill, all the targets with Winged Halo will get a 5% skill damage boost that lasts for 1 turn. So that's really nice because, say for example, the target in front of Odile using a skill, all the allies with Winged Halo will go ahead and get a 5% damage, 5% skill boost, sorry. And then the girl to the left of Odile will then use her skill, giving them all again a 5% skill damage boost. And then Odile will use hers, giving everyone another 5%, so now you're looking at 15. And then the last girl to Odile's right, usually in position 6 of the formation, will use their skill, and that'll end up giving herself a 20% overall, 4 times 5% skill damage boost for that turn. What's awesome here is that the Winged Halo itself is increasing skill damage again by that 10%. The targets of this, it's all going to be the same, but Beastfolk are going to get an added 50%. So that's 50% of the 10%, which just becomes 15. This is what I meant by the buffs towards Beastfolk being pretty minuscule, pretty small, negligent, if I could say. That, doesn't matter what team is using Odile, it's just going to be super effective. So Odile granting skill damage boost for everybody, and again, skill damage boost is one of those attributes that you want on a team that's doing direct damage. So Beastfolks, Zero, Cyanna, Evolve can use it as well. Saber Cage and Pluton, they're gonna like it. Sapphire, not so much. And then in the human side, if you're using her with Jewel or using her with Striker Sugiyami, it is helping their skill. But at the same time, humans like to use a lot of basic attacks as well with pursuits and follow-ups. It is very possible, especially if you build your human team to just want to blast their skill abilities over and over again. And at the same time, after all of this, it restores 1 energy. So again, still really plays into the Beastfolk playstyle of stacking so much energy and trying to use marks like Bomb Mark to just increase the overall damage you're doing. So overall, great Winged Halo. Also keep this in the back of your mind. Now, we're holding on to 2 dots here. The Winged Halo state goes really well with Odile's mark. So right away, let's just go ahead and cover it. Winged Halo. When the wearer, which can be any girl, is in the Winged Halo state, the incoming healing and buffs that they receive are increased by 30%. This is not necessarily the buffs that you get for being in Winged Halo or the buffs coming from Odile. It's just any buffs and healing that the girl gets that additional 30% multiplier. Incredible. So you're getting extra damage boost from other girls, Winged Halo is going to boost it. You're getting extra attack, Winged Halo is going to boost it. It's just fantastic. So you want your DPS to always be wearing one. If you ever have a box with a UR mark, say from the Tsukiyami livestream event, it is worthwhile to save one of those boxes for Winged Halo when Odile drops. So definitely keep that in mind. We'll circle back to the rest of the marks. Finally, for Talent 4, when Odile reaches 5 stars, Voodoo breaks. Stacking up to 1 time over here, not so long. Stacking up to 2 times now. And each stack of Voodoo applies a 10% of increased damage taken. So that's the girl that has Voodoo on her is now taking an extra 10% for each stack. And 25% healing weakened. So now you're cutting a quarter of the healing whenever they're trying to heal back up. It's going to do a lot of impact, especially in the PvE modes like the Infinite Maze, where some healer floors, they just heal so much because their stats are boosted. Odile has everything. It's really covering all of the bases. So let's look at Aphotic Wings. This is going to be her equipment, which at rank 0 and 3 is increasing your crit and crit damage, but at rank 7 is doing a 10% of crit rate and crit damage. And then after using a skill, stacks Curse onto a random enemy in the back row. So again, this is when Odile uses her skill. She's just going to go ahead and apply Voodoo to someone in the back line of the enemy formation. And then over here at the start of the battle, your ally with the highest attack, which is just going to be your damage dealer, will just get an extra 10% damage reduction boost. Again, increasing the survivability. Odile is a support girl, so you know it makes sense, and that lasts until the end of the battle. What I like about this is that Odile could fall, but that damage reduction boost is still there. That's just a buff that she's handing out at the very beginning of the fight. Here you go, you're now tankier, and if you're a Beastfolk, it's 20% damage reduction boost. So fantastic, and this is how my puff on my lineup or my Eve is able to last much longer. So good stuff. I went ahead and just made a plus 11. Not necessary. If you just want to have medals available, then you can just make it a plus 8, and then you have your medal with 3 relics that you can go ahead and use. So how are marks looking for us? We talked about Winged Halo, which is very important. Odile doesn't necessarily need to have it on herself. I just have it here for demonstration purposes. If I'm showing off other girls on the team that have it, you know, like here's Puff, you know, she's gonna have Winged Halo on herself. Eve over here is gonna have Winged Halo as well. So you kind of see how some of my characters are set up, at least for PvE. I was doing some boss fights earlier. Because she works with Bioshield, something like Soul Armor or Devotion is really great because she's going to apply some based on her HP, but then increase it by an extra 20%. And their damage boost by 10%. It only stacks once, but it lasts for 2 turns. So Soul Armor Mark is one of those UR support marks that you definitely want to keep an eye out for whenever it's in the rate up banner, or if you have an extra UR mark box, because of all these extra little boosts to damage that the enemy is taking, tacking up an extra 10%, it's just so great. And thinking from a Beastfolk perspective, because we are a direct damage Beastfolk account, if your enemies you're fighting with, especially in PvP, have so much damage reduction, you're going to want to take a look carefully at all your sources of damage boost that you can stack up, so you can always make sure that your girls are slamming into them with all of their active skills. Devotion Mark is a bit of an energy controller for us, so whenever Odile is using a skill, because we're Beastfolk and we usually have a lot of extra energy, let's put some of that to use and give our allies an extra 20% Bioshield with the lowest percent of HP. So if we are taking a little bit of extra hits, we can help our allies with some extra Bioshield. And remember, Bioshield actually does work against indirect damage because it's basically an increase to the girl's HP. Like, hey, I have 1 million HP and I get an extra 200,000 Bioshield. Now I have 1.2 million HP available in my pool. So Wendy can do it, and Mouse can do it, and of course Odile. You can see we got the UR mark because it's really good. Rock solid. It's just increasing the amount of Bioshield that the wearer provides by 15%. So we've got a plus 20, a plus 20. Well, you know, just using a skill, and then an extra 15 that tacks on anytime the wearer applies Bioshield to anybody. And Callan's even in there too. Pretty sweet. Then for survivability, we just have a heart link just to make sure that our Odile is surviving, but you can go ahead and stack a different mark if you need to. Something that helps with defense or something else that helps with more HP. Definitely up to you. You know, over here you have Blessing Mark, which increases the effectiveness of buffs. That's fine too. But then again, because our Bioshield from our skill is checking out our HP, I definitely built a wagon here for our Odile using attack HP, defense HP, and the HP marks, which sometimes, you know, we feel bad when it comes to us from the UR mark rate up banner, but this is one of the places where you can definitely park those marks, because Odile is going to want to apply the most Bioshield here possible to the ally. So how much HP do we got near here? Just, you know, base, a lot. So I think I can look at her from the position of a team build, you know, how she looks like with gear, but you know, it's a ton of HP compared to other girls. Sorry, you're not even UR. So other girls hovering around 800k. Oh, sorry, 80k. You know, even Puff, who is our highest ranked up character, you know, Odile, we put all the marks on her to increase HP. To go with that, on the resonance skier side, any resonance gear that you can have that will increase survivability, Ankh symbol, or the damage reduction shield are both really great. On a newer account, you can definitely use the glasses, or you can add the belt if you really like to, but most of the time you're going to be working in the gloves. Adding this, if it's your only one, is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's going to increase some of her attack and crit damage boosts, which is okay. Yeah, if you increase your attack on Odile, it's going to increase the percentage of healing she does, even though it's still small. And everything helps. But glasses is fine because it has a lot of damage reduction boosts built into it, dodge, and also just reduces the chances of her being controlled. So I like building gloves first, and then maybe glasses second. Unless you're human, then you probably want the barrier belt because it also helps you gain life shield, which humans like. For any spending players, and the fact that you've maybe looked at your heart, you're going to see that a 3-hole pink heart here increases the buff supplied by the wearer, increase it, and then whenever energy is provided, all damage boosts to the target increase by an additional 4%, up to 10 stacks. So heart, ultimately, for again spending players, is going to really boost up the damage boost that the girls on, well, especially support girls on your team, are providing. So it's incredible. It's a buff effect, or buff effects that are applied are increased by 60%. So already that skill damage that we're getting is juicy from Odile. So you got those to look forward to. Okay, so we've looked at these already. We've looked at her weapon, but now when we have her exclusive weapon, what kind of marks do we want? Anything that's effective with attack and HP, I like on Odile. If you have something like the damage reduction mark, where do we have that? I guess we have the 1-star one. When you're running like mono builds, then you'll probably want to look at deploying multiple Beastfolks, and at 4-star, it's doing 4% of damage reduction. So at the 5 Beastfolk allies, 20% damage reduction boost, which is fine, and it's increasing HP. So I really like this one. It's also not as difficult to use as this Medal of Purification. So you only need one of each relic. Over here you need all 5 relics, and I'm increasing my attack, so okay, the healing's a little bit bigger, but the HP boost of 20% is really sweet. And at the start of each turn, you grant yourself 1 layer of Purge, reducing the chances of receiving Storm, Corrosion, or Poison. So that's fine. It's a defensive mark, which is fine, but if possible, this medal is great. You can also consider using the Medal of Vitality over here, which, if your Odile's having a hard time getting her energy stacked up, or you just have a lot of Evo players on your server, maybe consider looking at this one to get chances of increasing the energy you get. Although there's no HP boost here, so it's a little rough. So those are the ones I like. Maybe this one as well. It's an attack and defense boost, but it increases the HP of girls, so still helping a little bit. And I had this one on my Odile for a little bit of time because, again, it's HP and attack boost. And when the first time an enemy is defeated, you get an extra 100% life shield equal to your attack, which is alright. But the stats here is really what we want. And I don't know why I don't have it assigned to anybody. I could probably equip that somewhere. Stats on the relics. Look at all that HP boost. So we got HP, 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 HP. That's why our Odile has a large wagon. This one is doing hit rate. So one thing to talk about here is the voodoo marks. She has to hit her target. If the enemy dodges, she's not going to land or stick a voodoo mark on the enemy target. So you need to make sure that for PvP modes, your Odile has a respectable amount of hit percentage. So HP, attack, and hit is what you really want to look for. For defensive stats, anything with defense or dodge is fine. Apparently I have a crystal here that increases PvP damage boost, which we don't really need here. I think I might just have this crystal here because I didn't have anything better to use. Here's this crit damage. That's defense. Alright, I'll have to look around. This is doing attack. Alright, maybe I can reroll this one and give it to Odile. That might not be bad, actually. This can go on a, I don't know, maybe a tank or a DPS character. More hit rate, which is fine. And then finally, more HP boosts and hit rate. This is like the magic garland for Odile, in my opinion. HP, defense, a ton more HP, and then finally wrapping it up with hit rate. So just so I can showcase what she's looking like here, it's 222%, very clean for her hit rate, and getting a ton of HP boosts to bat for that. You know, don't really need any of her offensive skills to take off, but damage reduction boost is 44. Dodge, it's kind of, you know, it's low. You know, we're not really looking for it, but, you know, we're wanting our damage reduction boost so that Odile can stay alive longer, stick some more voodoo marks out there for people. Again, I have her beach outfit up and available. Here's her SD art, but also her normal base art is very well designed, in my opinion. Gets a lot of jewelry and additional items when you make a UR mark. So art looks fantastic for Odile. Bond, for anyone that's interested, you know, Tsukiyami and Lemon are here. And when we're looking at her oath, you know, you're seeing kind of what you're getting. At Doom's Glory, she's boosting everyone's attack. And then for Small Yet Great, you're really tagging on the extra layers of Halo. So, you know, increasing skill damage on allies that are using it. So everyone using their skill will increase skill damage for everyone coming after them as well. So pretty great, pretty great. If the target is Beastfolk, alright, so this is on the weapon, increasing the damage reduction, so a little bit more survivability for your main DPS girl. And then, you know, when you're looking at her story, and also maybe following the adventure, Odile here is the oldest sister of the princesses of, I believe it's the White Swan Kingdom. So maybe I might cover the story lore on separate videos, maybe do a little short so that folks know what's going on. But because Odile did not want to seem suspicious of Nina getting hurt and losing her wings, Odile joined the Black Wing organization, which is basically like a secret society, and I don't want to really call them assassins, but more like a spy society. And so they work in the background, pulling strings in the inner circle of the Beastfolk. Also quite tsundere whenever the commander shows up, being real rough around the edges, but, you know, usually opening up whenever the commander has something to say. So really cool. Odile was probably the first limited character that I pulled for on this account, you know, joining around first anniversary, and then Odile releasing just a few weeks later was very helpful and just set me straight onto the path of playing Beastfolk. And for anyone having questions about how the Beastfolk playstyle rolls, then, you know, definitely be sure to ask in the comments below. And I guess I'll just do a quick little plug here, but definitely feel free to put a like down on the video, or share with any of your friends on the account that might be playing, in case you have any questions. You know, definitely love to help out here or in the community. So let's go see how Odile performs. We actually have a base bounty that's looking at buffing Beastfolks. When energy is greater than 4, each extra point of EP. Damage is reduced by 10%, but we are getting a 50% skill damage boost. So definitely good for the buffs. And it's against a mechanic target, so we're getting a bunch of extra damage. And how we have the team laid out here. Remember, Winged Halo is applied to allies next to Odile. So right in front of her, we've got Eve, DPS character that loves to slam high energy attacks. Cheryl to her left, likes to spam extra skills and increase her own skill damage. And then finally Puff, who goes into assault mode, especially when it feeds her extra energy, which Odile does. And then Puff feeds herself, putting in through that attack mode and doing just a bunch of extra damage on top. We have two darkened characters here. Callan boosting damage and also giving us bow shield and extra buffs. And then Morsta, which controls the enemy, but really she's there for the Dominion mark and also debuffing the enemy with her control, reducing their crit resistance, their crit damage resistance, damage reduction, and ultimately just making them hit worse. But, you know, really it's just debuffing the enemy. As a controller, Morse is really great. We have no real indirect damage here that does HP percentage, so, you know, that's what we get. So we'll speed right past the pets. You can see we've already hit 1 trillion damage right off the bat. So we'll go ahead and skip the pets. Do a little slower so you see that Callan starts us all off. The wall of buffs that hit us. Eve slamming a big ol' active skill on them. Finally, Morsta applying Nightmare and Control. And we'll see if Cheryl here can get a couple extra hits. Oh, she only got 1. Okay. Buff throws her skill out. We've already taken on a couple of enemies. But you can see here, this green mark shows who has the winged halo. A bunch of buffs being handed out. We've also got Fusang for us. That's increasing our skill damage for the whole team, as well as damage that we do. Alright, can Eve take out a couple of enemies here? It looks like she can. She took out the whole front line and the back. So with so much of damage boost that we're doing, and that's the base stats of our girls, when we reach some of these boss fights, a lot of our characters can just one-shot a lot of the enemies. Look at Cheryl. She one-shot basically the entire team with her AoE attack. And that's, you know, really in part the debuffs from Morsta, the buffs from Callan, and the buffs from Oda herself. Here she goes. She's going to hit the front line. You're going to see little cursed marks fly above, and then someone randomly in the back is going to get it because of her talent. And then Puff here just does a bunch of damage. And our HP is low because of Callan. She takes 50% of our HP and gives us a bio shield on top. That's what these little white dots are on top of everyone. You'll see it from Odo as well. It's basically an extra layer of HP for your girls, but it's just under the category of bio shield. So yeah, all of our girls are slamming away, and you know, having a main Beastfolk team, we have that built in. Callan can be replaced by Hiro and Yoru, still giving you attack, crit, and damage boost buffs. Morsta can just be Annie, Odile, Shimosuke, especially if you're still needing to keep energy flowing with your team. And Shimosuke does a really good job on a Beastfolk team. But Annie is an SR character that increases attack and crit until the end of the battle, which is just great overall for anyone. Deer increases damage boost for Beastfolk players. Maybe Angela if you're playing a mechanic team, because you're getting damage boosts and magnetic storm. And for evolved players, now normally you're pulling a support from another race, because your control is really good, your DPS is really good, but the support is a bit lacking. That's where you probably want to add Odo. So let's go ahead and skip this. You know, we know how much damage we did. Yep, we reached 1 trillion. And then you know, how damage looks. You know, our Puff really goes off here, but everyone else does pretty well. Can't really see the energy, but you can see our pets here. You know, we do have Chow Fang and Queen Flora, but it's really Fusang that's pushing our Beastfolks to their upper limit. We'll go ahead and collect our rewards. That looks fun. Okay. So yeah, we're reaching a really awesome conclusion here with how Odile fits onto any team. The teams that may not want Odile are going to be ones that are focused on dot damage. So girls like Meteor over here is not going to like Odile because she's usually detonating magnetic storm marks. And again, Odile needs the girl to do direct damage to the enemy. So slamming them up front will help boost the amount of damage that they've taken in the turn. Dot marks from Meteor or from Sapphire don't really play well into that strategy. So those are the only teams that probably don't like Odile. But everyone else is usually slamming, you know, really high powered attacks right into someone's face. That's where you probably want Odile to come in. Some ways that your Odile could also be countered is if the enemy dodges her attacks, or if they have invincible shields, then her voodoo marks won't stick. She won't do much of anything in the range of putting her voodoo doll marks on enemies, and your team's gonna feel a little sad. So you have that to look forward to. Odile again usually wants to be in the front, middle, or the rear back, so that you have more allies next to her and in front of her or behind her. so that she can spread that wing halo to more allies. And then again, always consider her mark here, the winged halo. At least one for your main DPS standing next to Odile, but if you can get all three of them, then you're going to be sitting real pretty on the main team using Odile. So what are your thoughts? Do you think that based off of what we've covered here, Odile is actually the goddess of fate? Do you think that she could be a good fit for your team, and you know how her lineup may be looking when you are trying to set together a main team for PvE battles? I personally think if there was a tier list out there, she would be EX or triple S. It's just incredibly powerful, and here you can see, you know, we've really stacked all the way up. Okay, so yeah, the HP level we were reflecting earlier it's just really high, 100k. Well, in the value here, I think it'd be like 100 million. It is just incredible, and so we like that. We put decent amount of HP, you know, focused on her damage reduction and send her off like that. So tell me again what you're thinking. Is Odile someone that you want to add to your team and keep an eye out for on the rainbow or gem banners, or even save your vouchers for? As a limited support character, she is one that I would definitely recommend. Humans, you know, you probably want Miranda, but anyone else definitely wants to look at Odile whenever she becomes available in the limited banner. Maybe add her to her team at that point. But that's going to be everything that we have to cover here on this video. Definitely keep an eye out for any more content showing off Odile, as she has made appearances in some of our other content. Again, I can't stress it enough that I really love what Odile does for any team and increasing your performance in any mode, including PvP and all the PvE bosses, including Infinite Maze, Endless Trials, Lost Expedition, you name it. But that's what we have for this one, folks. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below, and we'll catch you on the next video. See ya.